Tristan, can you tell me a little bit about what's going on here today?
Yeah, so we're here today at Dunn County Potter's Field, collecting more GPR data here. We're trying to analyze and see if we can locate some of the burials here today.
What's your role in this project?
Yeah, so I kind of take on the role of organizer for today. I've been contacting the various parties we have present, such as Friends of Potter's Field, our student volunteers from UW-Eau Claire, as well as Dr. Harry Joel. We've been talking quite a bit, trying to organize this project here today and get everybody here safely.
You've been involved with this project since it originated, 4 years ago?
Yeah, so I came in 4 years ago in fall of 2021. I was a freshman at Eau Claire, and I was looking to get involved in some research, and Harry informed me about this site that he was partnering with, or looking to partner with. So we came out, we collected a small GPR grid just to kind of get a test in, and that went pretty well. I did some other research with Harry, and then we came back in fall of 2023. We collected a pretty large grid here on the far end of the site, furthest away from where we're at currently. And we got really promising data from that collection in 2023. We came back again in fall of 2024 to collect some more data. That was a little bit less reassuring. So we have some interesting things coming up there. And we're back here today to collect more data.
Can you tell me what we know about this Potter's Field Cemetery that we didn't know 4 years ago?
Absolutely. So particularly with that data from 2023 that I mentioned, we were able to locate some high resolution anomalies in our data. Meaning,
I'm sorry, high resolution anomaly.
So we have that GPR unit that's going behind us currently. It's scanning into the ground. When it sends out those scans, there's bouncing off of, different things in the ground. So we have these waves that go through the soil. It bounces off of a rock, a tree limb or root, or perhaps a burial, and then it gets sent back up to the unit. We can receive that as data here in the field. We also post-process that data pretty heavily. And so what happens then is we can use those reflections, meaning like, hey, there's something here that's different than the soil around it. That's a pretty big indicator to us that there's something there. A lot of the times we can't say with certainty what we're looking at. We just see there's a weird anomaly here that's not soil that we're looking at this site. So what we happened in 2023 here is that we saw these patterns in our data. It was, on average, these high reflectance anomalies were like kind of 6 feet by a foot or 2 feet wide, which is about the size of kind of your average person, or if they were to wrap someone up in a cloth, or if they had a coffin that they put them in. That's kind of what we would expect to see for the dimensions there. And we saw them in these repeating patterns underground. And there was 2 really distinct rows in our data that we saw these repeating kind of individual plots with, the anomalies that I talked about. So because of that data that we saw, we're interpreting that as 2 individual rows of graves that we found in 2023.
Well, what level of detail is available to you from the ground penetrating radar?
So we collect the data every 0.25 meter intervals, every quarter meter interval. It's about like half a foot roughly, our spacing on that. And so we can get data that's, that type of resolution to the level that we can say, we can measure where the edges of what we think those probable graves are. We can measure where we think the edges of those graves are, and they measure out to those dimensions I measured earlier. So we have the fine enough resolution that we can be able to see that in our data.
And how do you determine, the number of flags and lines here, how do you determine where in this area you're going to be detecting?
One of the things we're looking at is what was here on the site prior to when we came in. So we have these crosses just immediately behind us. I believe I was told that they were made by the highway department some decades ago. And they were placed, there's also some smaller markers next to some of these that we think are perhaps the original burial markers. They've been well worn away since their original placement, which is why we think the highway department perhaps put these crosses in behind us. So that is a pretty strong indicator. Someone believed that there was someone buried here. So that's why we're in this site today, specifically at this part of the field looking here, because we're hoping that, if the belief was that people were buried in that specific spot, we can pick that up in our GPR. And then we can compare it to the results that we got in 2023, where there weren't markers originally, but we think we found those potential graves there. So we're hoping to compare our data between the two.
You are no longer a student at UW-Eau Claire. You've in fact graduated. I've got to ask, what are you doing here? It's beautiful out here. You could be out at a beach someplace.
Yeah, so I graduated in May, and this site's always been really interesting to me. Like I mentioned earlier, I first came out here in 2021 with Harry. I was really intrigued by it. I worked on some other projects then, and then I came back out in 2023. I got hooked again. It's sites like these that really inspire me to keep learning and to keep teaching others about our history and about the impact that these sacred spaces have. There are people buried here. If we can bring a little bit more honor and recognition to these sites, I think that makes for a lot better situation, a lot better community, a lot better world. Yeah, to me, it's certainly a passion of mine to continue doing this work here. Being able to place the crosses on the far end of the field, the data with 2023, when we went out in 2024, we were able to place crosses based on our previous year's data. That was a really powerful moment for me and for the others involved here at the site. There was a lot of hard work that a lot of people behind the scenes have been putting in, and we're really grateful for that, and they deserve recognition as well. And so just to be able to be a part of that has been really inspiring for me personally.